You know, they finished last in their division that year. And everybody on this team that was here then remembers that. And it's a pretty good caution as they deal with the weighty expectations of the season to come.
I think it's great. You know, I think the one thing I'm wary of is 2008. You know, I think there's only a handful of us that are still left from that team. But, you know, the whole world said we're the best team on the planet, and we didn't even make the playoffs. So, you know, that still rings true in my head. And so you just need to be careful of, you know, becoming complacent.
We want to just get in here, you know, get the chemistry, get the timing, get used to playing with each other, and go from there. So going into the season, it shouldn't be a problem. But you have to do it on the field no matter what. Expectation is expectations, but you have to do it on the field.
This team is so confident, and they believe so much, everyone, that I think, I mean, we have to do something.
Tigers know they have a good team. Now the tricky little matter of proving it on the field. And one other note as we send it back to you, working the plate for game one. Tigers and Twins upcoming. Tigers' old friend, Jim Joyce. Mick?
All right, John, thank you very much. Looking forward to it today. John Keating handling the post-game duties in the Tigers clubhouse after the game. And Craig, expectations, of course, were there in 2012 as well. And the Tigers stumbled out of the gate. How do they avoid that again this season?
I think the way they avoid it, Mick, is guys on the back of their on the back of their baseball cart, just do what you're capable of doing. Don't try to do too much. And with this team, with how it's put together, they'll find themselves at the top of this division. All
right, the start of the 2013 season just moments away, and it's going to be a fun one here at Fox Sports Detroit. Craig and I will be back here in the call, Sam, after the game with all the highlights and reaction on Tigers Live. Mario and Rod are standing by to get the season underway. Enjoy the home opener, everybody.
That you couldn't wait to read. Every page will be absorbed. Opening day is special because it sets the scene which follows. We feel warmer on that day knowing what's to come. The sun's out whether we can see it or not. The greenest grass is the first that you see in the spring. You know, opening day gets us all going. The games count again. Aspirations exist beyond the league championship. Our spring and summer suddenly have a schedule with the soundtrack of Mario and Rod. Swinging a high drive. Way back. Game over. Unbelievable.
This has to be the best win of the year.
Opening day is a day that you can be a part of history. Opening day is the Detroit Tigers. Opening day wears an Old English D. Opening day, as always, is Justin Verlander. Today in Minneapolis, Miguel Cabrera begins defense of his Triple Crown with plenty of help in a loaded lineup that features Prince Fielder, and former Twin Torrey Hunter returns to the Twin Cities. The Twins have some new faces, but the face of their franchise returns. That's Joe Mauer. We are all bundled up here this afternoon as we welcome you to Target Field in Minneapolis. We are ready for baseball. We hope you are as well. Opening day features the Tigers and the Minnesota Twins. Hi again, everyone. It's with great glee that I utter those words. Welcome to Tigers baseball. Mario and Pemba alongside Rod Allen. We are glad to have you with us here this afternoon. It's a little bit nippy, but that's okay, Rod. Both of these teams will have to deal with the cold this afternoon.
No doubt about that. The Tigers had a optional workout yesterday, but the entire team showed up. Minnesota did not work out in cold weather yesterday. I think the Tigers, because they worked out yesterday, better acclimated themselves to the conditions today. But make no mistake about it, from a hitter standpoint, you want to get off to a very good start because you don't want to be behind the 8 ball when that weather does warm up.
All right, now, it wouldn't be opening day if Justin Verlander was not on the mound. He will be on the mound, and just a few days ago signed that 5-year extension to remain in a Tigers uniform. Looking forward to seeing him pitch again today.
So many times when pitchers hit the free agent market, and of course Verlander did not hit the free agent market, the Tigers elected to sign him with 2 years left on his deal. They have already earned that money with the respective team they've been with, but Tigers fans are going to get a chance to see Verlander for the next 7 years because he signed that lengthy deal, and of course he is simply the best pitcher on the planet, and I know he's looking forward to getting his very first win on opening day. He hasn't won on opening day yet.
All right, now, how many times last year did we say, I am out of ways to describe Miguel Cabrera? Coming off that Triple Crown season, he is primed for another great year this year. Cabbie had a great spring. He looks like he's in top form.
I'll let Mr. Al Kaline describe him this time. I was listening to a Tigers broadcast last week when I was in Lakeland, Florida, and Mr. Kaline simply said that Miguel Cabrera is the best hitter that he's ever seen in a Tigers uniform. So for Mr. Kaline to say that, as many great players as he has seen wear the Tigers uniform, I guess I'm going to roll with him. But you all know what Mickey brings to the dance. He goes foul line to foul line, tremendous power. First Triple Crown winner in about 45 years. Unbelievable season, real good teammate, and it looks like he's going to have another stellar season.
It is a loaded lineup for the Tigers. It is a loaded pitching staff. They are favorites to win the Central Division, and it all begins right here today in Minneapolis. After a short break, we'll send you back to the Call Sam studios. We'll check in with Mickey York, and then it's back here to Target Field, where it's a homecoming for Torii Hunter, plus Victor Martinez back in the Tigers lineup. All of that as we get you set for baseball. The Tigers and Twins coming up. Love JV. We love JV. We're ready to go. Tigers and Twins coming up next. Yeah. Sports Detroit is brought to you by Comerica Bank, a part of Detroit and the community since 1849. Chrysler, imported from Detroit. And by Spartan Stores. For locations, visit turntospartan.com. Tiger fans filing into Target Field in Minneapolis on a gorgeous day. If you like the cold, it's a little bit nippy out here, but it's sunny. We have baseball, and we are glad to have you with us here this afternoon as the Tigers get set to take on the Minnesota Twins. Game 1 of 162 this season for the Detroit Tigers, and hopefully it'll culminate in a Central Division championship and beyond. Well, the last time we checked in with John Keating, it was October at Comerica Park. He was wearing a black turtleneck and an overcoat, and look what he's wearing today, Keats.
It's all I've got in the closet. That's what it comes down to. Mario, this piece of grass that you're seeing, it might be the only piece of green real estate in the entirety of the state of Minnesota. And why? There are 41 miles of liquid tubing, 12 inches beneath the surface of the turf, with the warm liquid sort of circulating, and so they're fooling the grass to sort of wake up. And so the happiest creatures in all of Minneapolis might be the worms that are stretching and waking up just beneath the grass. Justin Verlander doesn't like to pitch wearing sleeves, but he will do so in Game 1. Pitching coach Jeff Jones told me the issue on days like this is hands getting numb. Pitchers are allowed to blow on their hands, but that is something to watch. Verlander wearing sleeves for Game 1 against the Twins here in frosty but sunny Minneapolis, Mario.
All right, Keith, stay warm down there. And, of course, Torii Hunter returning back home here to Minneapolis. He did spend the last 5 seasons with the Angels, but a long, long history here for Torii Hunter with the Minnesota Twins. So Hunter, part of that new look in the Tigers lineup, which largely returns intact following a tremendous season last year. We'll check out the Tigers starting lineup presented by your Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. Austin Jackson will lead it off. He'll play in center field, followed by Torii Hunter. Then Miguel Cabrera, Prince Fielder, and Victor Martinez, the vaunted 3-4-5. Dirks and left, Peralta at short. Avila and Omar Infante will round out the starting lineup for the Detroit Tigers. And they will face today a right-hander, a newcomer for the Minnesota Twins, Vance Worley.
Yeah, they got him from the Philadelphia Phillies. You take a look at his numbers from a season ago. He had 23 starts. Sort of a disappointing season after winning 11 games in 2011. He jumped back to 6 in 2012. But he is the ace of this staff, and he's getting the ball on opening day. Let's take a peek at the Tim Hortons defensive alignment for the Minnesota Twins this afternoon. You have Willingham. You have the talented center fielder Hicks. He's a newcomer. You have Parmalee in right. You have Plouffe, Florimon, Dozier, and Morneau in the infield. The all-star Joe Mauer, he's the catcher behind the dish today, putting down the signs for Vance Worley.
Well, the sun is shining, and we have baseball this afternoon. Opening day in Minneapolis. The Twins and Tigers here at Target Field. Austin Jackson getting set to lead things off for the Tigers. Austin coming off one of his better seasons in his young big league career. Jackson last year hitting a very solid .300. Did that for the first time in his career. And there's the skipper, Jim Leyland, who was all calm and collected before the game today. He's excited to get it going because it was a long spring training this year. And Vance Worley has his sign, and we are ready for baseball this afternoon. The first pitch of today's game is a strike called on Austin Jackson.
Worley will go anywhere from 88 to 94 with his four-seam fastball. He likes to sink it. He also throws a cutter. He has both breaking balls. That would be the slider and the curveball. And occasionally he will throw you a changeup.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Jackson looks at it high. 1 ball and 1 strike.
I was watching some video in the Tigers clubhouse before the game with Torii Hunter, and Torii told me that his fastball, judging by some of the swings he was watching the opposition take last year, looks like it gets on you in a hurry.
2 balls, 1 strike on Jackson. Well, for Austin Jackson, 10 triples last year. That led the American League. Scored over 100 runs again. He's done that 2 of his 3 big league seasons so far. Missed it inside. 3-1. Worley is 25 years of age, out of Sacramento, California. He was part of the restructuring of the Minnesota Twins pitching rotation by Terry Ryan in the offseason, trying to rebuild a rotation that in the mid-90s was one of the best in the American League. 3-2 on Jackson. Wow. Awfully close. The 3-2 is hammered up the middle into right center field, a base hit. And so Jackson is aboard to lead things off, and that'll bring up the former Twin, Torii Hunter. Torii, of course, was a favorite here in Minnesota. Of course, his days played in the Metrodome when he was part of the Twins, and highlight reel catch after highlight reel catch gets a warm round of applause here today. Jackson measuring his lead at first base, and Hunter fouls it back. I know that Hunter spent the last couple of years in Los Angeles, Rod, but still, when you spend as much time as he did with the Twins from '98 to 2007, it still has to feel pretty good to come back home.
He was a spectacular player here, and he won a lot of Gold Gloves here. He had lots of home runs, a fan favorite. He's also always smiling. Kirby Puckett is really the only other former Twin that comes to mind that was as popular as Torii Hunter was here.
1 ball and 1 strike on Hunter, who last year hit .300 for the first time in his career. He finished at .313 for the Angels. Worley giving up the leadoff single to Jackson. Now the 1-1. Runner goes, and a bouncing ball to the right side, and that is going to get through. Base hit. Jackson on his way to third. He'll stop there. Hit and run single for Torii Hunter, and the Tigers are in business.
Talked about Torii Hunter today in the pregame show, and we also talked about him at the top of the hour. And one of the things that he does nowadays is he hits behind the runner very well because he's adapted to that number 2 spot in the Tigers batting order, and he also adapted to it very well last year with the Los Angeles Angels. No longer does he try to hit every ball out of the ballpark, but simply tries to set up the offense to get the big guy to the dish with runners in scoring position.
So this is setting up just exactly as we hoped it would. You get the leadoff man to reach. Jackson on a single. Hit and run puts him to third, and now here is Miguel Cabrera. And he looks at ball one. It was a good spring for Cabrera. Hit .309, hit 4 home runs. Played for Team Venezuela as well in the World Baseball Classic. So chilly here today. You can see your breath. Driven foul down the right field line. 1 ball, 1 strike. Didn't slow down much this spring, did he? 16 RBIs.
I don't expect him to slow down until he gets to Cooperstown, partner.
He's going to sprint to the Hall of Fame, apparently. 1-1. Cabrera last year knocked in 139 for the Tigers. Hunter can still steal a base. He was 9 out of 10 last year. Torrey's still in terrific shape. And it's fouled away again. 1-2. Well, who has won the MVP and the Triple Crown in the same season? Miguel Cabrera did it last year. Since 1920, it's a short list.
Puts him in special company.
All of those guys are in the Hall of Fame.
Cabrera will be there at some time himself.
Here's the 1-2. Bouncing ball to short. They might get 2 out of this. Florimon to Dozier. 1 relay. Safe at first base. The run will score, and Cabrera gets an RBI.
Dozier was a shortstop last year, so he's still learning the second base position. And Torii Hunter, one of the things that we know about him is he is very aggressive when on first base, when trying to break up double plays, and also good hustle by Miguel Cabrera.
So Hunter gets the high fives. Jackson scores the run. The Tigers have their first run of 2013. That'll bring up Prince Fielder. Bounces in and gets away from Mauer. Advance the runner. Well, Cabrera moves up in a wild pitch.
Let's talk about Torii Hunter and the fact that how aggressive he is. Let's flash back to last year when he was wearing the opposition's uniform, the Angels. He about killed Omar Infante on a double play ball, and Infante did not turn it over. He threw the ball wildly, and the Angels went on to win that game. It was a very close game, but that slide was a difference in the game.
Little things that help you win contests. There's a fair ball inside the bag at third.
Stop it, Prince.
It'll get another run in as Cabrera scores, and Prince will saunter into second base with an opposite field double. We saw him do that a lot last year, go the other way, but that time he cued it just inside the bag. And the Tigers have an early 2-0 lead.
Well, the Tigers team is picking up right where it left off in the regular season last year. Of course, they didn't show up in the World Series against the San Francisco Giants, but it looks like these boys are on a mission already here in the very first inning against Worley.
Cabrera and Fielder with RBIs. That's going to bring up Victor Martinez. So a happy start to 2013 for the Tigers. They score 2, and they're still in business here in the first.
1 through 5, there is no lineup in the major leagues that can compare to this Detroit Tigers offense. There's just no other teams out there that can run 5 300 hitters at you. You have Jackson, you have Hunter, you have Miguel, you have Prince, who hit 300 for the first time last year, and Victor Martinez is always hovering around that 300 mark.
Well, you saw Victor play this entire spring. Are you convinced that he's healthy and good to go this season?
Yes, I am, because I was convinced when I saw him with the catcher's gear. He was catching some bullpens this year, so they wouldn't have never had him down in the Tigers bullpen catching bullpens if he wasn't healthy.
That's a good point. Meanwhile, Worley gets ahead now. No balls, 2 strikes.
Now, that's not to say he's going to catch at all during the regular season. I mean, we'll have to wait to see whether something like that transpires, but just to see him carrying that gear around told me that he was good to go.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't see a situation where Victor would catch it all this season. I think that obviously the signing of Brian Pena will help in backing up Avila. We may see Victor play some first base. Here's the 0-2. Just off the plate. Worley tried to thread the needle.
If you're wondering about the outfield arms of the new look Minnesota Twins defense, Parmalee in right, as an average thrower. The kid in center field has a spectacular arm. That would be Aaron Hicks. And in left field, Willingham, throwing is not one of his strong suits either.
Tigers have an early 2-0 lead just underway in the first inning at Target Field. And a strike called on Victor Martinez. Victor backs out of the box with a pained look on his face. He can't believe that Jim Joyce just punched him out.
Well, it looks like he's got a beef. It looks like it's up and out of the strike zone.
Two gone. First strikeout for Vance Worley. That'll bring up Andy Dirks. Andy slices one back out of play. He missed a little bit of time toward the end of camp after banging into left field and injuring his knee a little bit. Didn't keep him out all that long, but that just is the type of player that Dirks seems to be, Rod, and you really can't corral the way he plays.
I talked to him a few days ago down in spring training, and I said some of these times you have to stop running into these walls, buddy. That wall is not going to give. You're not going to win that battle. And he just laughed.
Yeah, it's not very forgiving, that is for certain, but that is just the way he's used to playing. Dirks has had good numbers here at Target Field. 342 career, trying to drive in a run with 2 outs. Lifted back out of play.
Very impressed with the short stroke that Andy Dirks has. He had it all season last year. Did his best work against right-handed pitching. He wasn't that bad against left-handers either, but he's got that short, quick stroke, and he looks to drive the ball up the middle on every single swing. Very seldom will you see Dirks overswing.
And the 1-2. Well, there are several Tigers that have really performed well here at Target Field, and you will find Andy Dirks on that list. In limited action, but still 342 in 11 games. A couple of home runs as well.
Tigers as a team have played very well here at Target Field.
Bouncing ball right side of the infield. Dozier has it there, and that is that for Detroit. But a good start for the 2013 Tigers. They get a couple of runs in support of Justin Verlander. 17-game winner last year. He's going for #1 of the new season here today.
Tigers fans, enter the Bell Tire Blast Contest. And
a couple of runs on 3 hits. A quick start for the Tigers offense. Twins will be coming to the plate here in the bottom of the first. Joe Mauer will have a different spot in the lineup this year for the Twins, batting second as we check out their lineup, presented by the Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. Hicks, Mauer, and Willingham, your top 3. Morneau is at first base, followed by Ryan Doman to DH, then Trevor Plouffe at third, Parmelee, Dozier, and Florimon rounding out the lineup for Minnesota. Today's Tigers starting pitcher is Justin Verlander, presented by Family Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
And Justin Verlander is the only pitcher in baseball that is in the MVP conversation when the season begins. And because of the numbers that he's put up the last couple of years, of course, he won a Cy Young, looking to win his first opening day start. However, he has not won in 5 prior opening day starts.
And so Verlander is all set to go here this afternoon. Justin career against Minnesota, 12-7. And he will face the leadoff man Aaron Hicks, who was a really nice story for them in spring camp. This young man tore it up for Minnesota this spring, and here he is leading off for the Twins. Verlander's first pitch is in for a strike, 0-1.
Aaron Hicks forced his way on to this 25-man roster after they traded away Denard Span and also Ben Revere. He was expected to start in AAA this year, but he had a monster spring.
370, I would say so. And that's fouled back out of play.
They say he can do it all. He's got a great throwing arm from center field. He can run down everything. And he can also steal a base. They say the last thing to come was his bat, but that showed up in spring training, as we just saw in those numbers. But those are spring training numbers. We'll see how he does during the regular season.
Showed a little bit of power last year at AA. Hit 13 home runs. Verlander's 0-2, missing inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, Justin, as we mentioned, won 17 games last year. 17-8 in 33 starts.
Almost won the Cy Young. Very close voting with David Price of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Swing and a miss. Hicks goes down, and the first strikeout victim of the afternoon.
Let's take a look at the Tigers starting defense presented by Beaumont Health System. In center field, of course, you have Austin Jackson, who will win a Gold Glove at some point in time during his major league career. Hunter and righties 1-9. You've got Dirks in left. The infield left or right reads Cabrera, Peralta, Infante, infielder, and Avila is behind the plate.
Now, Jim Leyland saying before the game today, yes, we are better defensively. One of the main reasons, a Gold Glover out there in right field, Torrey Hunter. Joe Mauer looks at a strike. Interesting to see Joe Mauer in the 2 slot this year, Rod. I think that Ron Gardenhire made the comments before the season that he wanted a high on-base percentage guy batting in the 2 slot.
Well, Joe gives you that. He led the American League in on-base percentage last year, perennial 300 hitter, and puts the ball in play, doesn't strike out very often.
Slow roller, third base side. Cabrera going to have to hurry. Bobbles has no play. They had a shot had he come up with it cleanly.
It's a do-or-die play, and Cabrera just didn't field it cleanly, and once he did get to it, actually he fielded it clean, but he could not exchange it to the throwing hand, and Mauer hustling down the line, which should have been an error.
So the Twins have their first base runner. It's going to bring up Josh Willingham batting in the 3 slot. That is indeed an error charge to Miguel Cabrera. Willingham had a terrific year last year for Minnesota. And he looks at ball 1. In fact, last season, Willingham reached the 100 plateau in RBIs for the first time in his career. Two and 0 the count.
Terry Ryan, the general manager here in Minnesota, made a very nice decision by bringing Willingham to their club last year and signing him to a 3-year deal, and he allowed Michael Kadire, who was a very popular Minnesota Twin, walk as a free agent.
Tried to hold up, couldn't do it.
Willingham is an outstanding fastball hitter, but of course Justin Verlander's fastball is better than most, and that's why you see the uncomfortable swing here of Willingham.
Verlander has pitched well over the years here at Target. And when I say over the years, his place has only been around a couple of seasons, but he's 3-0 lifetime here with an ERA of about 2.5. Justin overall 12 career victories against these Minnesota Twins. That is skied in the air, left side of the infield. Who wants it? Cabrera does. 2 gone. Mauer holds at first base. Now Justin Morneau. Morneau last year a bit of a bounce back season himself. 19 homers in his heyday here. He was knocking in 100 runs just about every season. He had done that for 4 consecutive years, but he has really struggled with concussions. Although they say now those symptoms have totally retreated, so he should be okay.
He did not play the last 3 days in a major league game down in spring training because he had a sore back, but he did play in a couple of minor league games. And the reason why he played in minor league games is if they would have had to put him on the disabled list, they would have been able to backdate it, so he would not have missed as much time when he got healthy.
Well, Morneau, you've seen his last 3 years, RBI totals down, batting average the last 2 years down, but it was the concussion that he suffered a couple of years ago that really slowed him down. And those were symptoms that just continually hung around, and Morneau just could not get to where he had been in terms of how he felt. But this past off season, he said, I was able to finally work out the way I wanted to because those symptoms were gone. Verlander missing outside. 1 strike on Justin Morneau. Bauer at first with 2 outs. Tigers lead 2-0. Just off the plate. 2-1. Got to believe this Twins offense will score them some runs this year. There is still a couple of pretty good pieces in this lineup. The question will be how their starting pitching will hold up. That's outside. 3-1. For Ron Gardenhire, the last 2 years have been a bit of a struggle after he had led his team to 6 first-place finishes in the Central. Shattered bat into right field. Hunter coming on to end the inning. No runs, an error, 1 man left. Verlander gets through the first. Ski mask going.
No shame in his game.
Here's Peralta. Johnny looking for a bounce back here. Batted .239 last season. A slimmed down Johnny Peralta. Still played in 150 games. Knocked in 63. There's the 0-1. 0-2 on Peralta.
And one of the things that Mauer has done so far in this game with Worley, he's called for a lot of fastballs inside. We told you Worley's fastball will go anywhere from 88 to 94 miles an hour. And on a cold, chilly afternoon, a lot of times it's difficult for the pitcher to get a feel for his breaking ball. Verlander threw a heavy dose of fastballs in the very first inning himself.
The 1-2 to right field and a base hit. Opposite field single for Johnny Peralta.
One thing about Peralta, and you talked about the numbers that he had last year, but one thing that he does very well when he comes to this ballpark, he plays his best baseball. He has had some monster games in this yard. 26 games, 327 with 5 homers and 20 driven in right here at Target Field.
Well, that number is up a tick now with the leadoff single here in the second. It'll bring up Alex Avila. And a good sign for Avila this spring. He had a really good camp offensively.
Drove in a lot of runs. Here's a good situation for Avila. Worley has thrown a lot of fastballs as we take a peek at his spring numbers. And the one thing, if you're Avila, you should be concentrating on, with the runner being held on at first base, see if you can get one of those fastballs, get out in front of it, and hit it between first and second.
High and away.
That's the one thing that Jim Leyland said to us in spring training when we interviewed him during one of our telecasts. He says when Alex gets himself in fastball friendly counts, like right now, 1 ball, no strikes, he wants him to try to pull that baseball.
And I think Jim's been saying that for about 1.5 years, 2 years now. He's been trying to get that into Avila's mindset. There's the strike called. 1-1. Avila last year knocked in 48. Tigers have the leadoff man on for the 2nd straight inning.
And because of the odd starting time here this afternoon, a 3 o'clock start, the shadows have already crept onto the field of play. The pitcher's in the sunlight, and the hitter, of course, is in the shadows.
Inside. How much of a difference does that make if you're Avila right now or any hitter and you are in the shadows? Does it make a big difference?
Not a big difference, but there is a little bit of a difference, but it's not major. It's more so on the breaking balls than it is the fastball, picking up the spin out of the pitcher's hands. Fastballs, I don't think it bothers you at all.
2-1 on Avila. 3-1.
I don't know if Jim will do so. We've already seen one runner take off in a good count here today. That was Austin Jackson with a hit and run, and Torrey Hunter, of course, was successful Well, here's a nice count right here to put a runner in motion if you want to try to stay out of the double play.
And we'll see if the skipper will try and keep the pressure on here with Peralta at first base. Runner holds, and it's fouled back 3-2.
Good swing by Avila. Good fastball, and he knew it.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but the Tigers have had success here at Target Field. In fact, last year they won 7 of the 9 that these two teams played in this ballpark. On their way to the Central Division title again last year. Runner goes on 3-2, swing and a miss. Mauer's throw off the glove of Florimon, covering down at second base.
Just not a good throw here by Joe Mauer. Mauer has a very good arm, but with Peralta running, he seemed to be very deliberate with his throw, and the throw tailed into the base runner, and Florimon, the shortstop, couldn't catch it. One thing Mauer did not do well last year, he did not throw the baseball well. Caught only 5 in 61 attempts, and I believe that said 5%.
Not good. Here's Infante now. Runner in scoring position, and Mauer had to smother that one.
Excuse me, that was 8%.
Still not good.
5 caught of the 61.
Mauer has won some Gold Gloves. Now the 1-0. Infante hammers one to left field. It's a base hit. Here comes Peralta rounding third. He's going to score, and Omar gets it done. RBI single to make it 3-0 Detroit.
One of the things that I've always admired about Omar Infante, I love the way that he plays defense, but I also admire the way that he just absolutely clobbers fastballs. That is a fastball that is right down the middle, about belt buckle high, and Omar catches it out in front and hits a seed to left field. He is a very good fastball hitter.
And it stands to reason that Omar in the lineup the entire year now this year will make that Tigers starting 9 a little bit deeper, especially toward the bottom of that lineup. Jim Leyland seeing exactly what he expected out of his offense today. Good start. Strike one on Jackson.
It's good to see, because obviously you had some guys last year in Jackson that had a very good year. You had also Prince Fielder, and you also had Miguel Cabrera that had tremendous years. But other than those three, really there was some inconsistency. And the one thing they need this year is they need more guys to have a better season.
Here's Florimon flipping to second. One of the relays, double play. That'll go 6-4-3. Tigers settle for 1 after 1.5. It's 3-0 Detroit.
Watch.
Tigers have a 3-0 lead as Johnny Peralta got it going with a base hit, eventually scored on the Infante single. And Tigers off and running here today with Justin Verlander on the hill. And JV will face Ryan Doumit, Chris Parmelee, Trevor Plouffe for Minnesota. Verlander starts him off with a fastball high 1-0. Doumit, solid year last year, 18 homers, 75 driven in, can play multiple positions. And Verlander behind now, 2 balls, no strikes. Doumit can catch, play some first, some left, some right, some DH. Whatever you like. Swing it on 2-0, skies it to shallow left field. Peralta back, Dirks in. 1 gone. Hey, join us again Wednesday when the Tigers take on the Twins. Coverage begins at 3:30 with Tigers Live on Fox Sports Detroit. That's Tigers Baseball Wednesday at 3 right here on Fox Sports Detroit. Tigers open up here against Minnesota. They'll be coming home to Yankees. We'll be there on opening day later this week at Comerica.
New look, New York Yankees. They have had a rash of injuries during the course of spring training and all the way back to last year. A lot of new faces on that squad.
There's a strike called on Parmelee. I want to clarify that 3 o'clock is our start time for our next telecast on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Here's the 0-1 pitch. There's a strike called. 0-2 on Parmelee. Hit .296 this spring. Fouled off. That one caught Avila. Well, there's the first one of the new season. And that one stung a little bit.
Looked like it got him in the inner left thigh.
Jim Joyce trying to buy in some time, wiping off the plate. Avila says, I'm good to go. About as good as it's going to get right now. And Parmelee hanging tough, still down to the count 0-2. First round pick back in 2006 was Chris Parmelee. Pretty good year at AAA last year. Hit .338. Missed it outside. How much of Terry Ryan's thought process right now is trying to figure out the guys they feel can play here for a while and maybe some of the moves they have to make down the line? Obviously, they've retooled their starting rotation, but they have to figure out position player wise who they feel can stick around a while.
Well, what he has done, he's rewarded the younger players that have had good years. Last year, Hicks in center field had a good year. Parmelee had a good year, as you mentioned his numbers. Plouffe, their third baseman, hit lots of homers last year.
Hit hard to short, and right there is Johnny Peralta.
But the one thing that Terry Ryan realized in the offseason, they had to take a different approach as far as their pitching staff was concerned. No longer do they play in that Metrodome. They play in a very big ballpark. He needs some power pitchers. He went out and made a few trades, and they brought in some real good power pitchers. A couple of those guys are still in the minor leagues. They haven't shown up yet, but they're big-time prospects.
Two gone now. There's a strike called. Tigers got 3 runs early in this game. 2 in the first and then 1 more in the second. There's the 1-0 pitch. Fouled straight back. And again, Avila this time off the mask.
He just shakes that one off.
It's opening day, he's saying.
And here's one from just the batter ago in the inner thigh.
I can't imagine what Avila feels like at the end of a long season, especially when you factor in spring training, you factor in postseason play, which the Tigers have been part of the last 2 years. Joe Mauer certainly has gone through the same wars, but Avila, for whatever reason, just seems to get his share. And then some. Strike called as Verlander gets ahead in the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Verlander spotting that fastball very nicely so far here today. He's gone anywhere from 88 to 92. He really hasn't gone to his big fastball yet. Of course, you know he can reach triple digits whenever he wants to. There's a changeup right there that he missed outside with.
Got JV muttering to himself a little bit. Verlander last year led the American League in innings, strikeouts, and complete games. He threw 6 complete games. Avila goes down to the knees to block that one. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Brian Dozier will be next. Verlander is on the mound every opening day for the Tigers, but he has not won an opening day start, which is kind of tough to believe, really.
Got 4 no decisions and 1 loss.
Now the 3-2 pitch. Lifted back out of play. Six straight years of 200 or more innings for Justin Verlander.
And of course, rewarded with a contract, the extension. And he lost him. Ball 4, 2-out base runner. First walk for JV, and here are his seasons ever since he broke in back in 2006.
Rookie of the Year, of course, he won the MVP and the Cy Young in 2011. Man, every single year, 17 wins and above for the most part for JV.
It is pretty amazing. And all the innings that he has logged, the strikeouts that he has racked up. 2-out base runner for Brian Dozier. Strike 1.
It wasn't a very difficult decision for Mr. Ilitch to allow Dave Dombrowski to work out an extension for Justin Verlander and make him the highest paid pitcher in the history of the game. Verlander has earned every single nickel that they will pay him.
That is true. And I guess it's the cost of doing business in the major leagues these days. You really have to make your best offer, which usually not only includes big dollars, but big years as well. Fouled straight back.
Well, he's a guy that you can trust. He has tremendous work ethic. Of course, he has a tremendous amount of God-given ability. But he's one of the first ones down to Lakeland, Florida, right after the new year. Getting himself acclimated and getting ready for the new season. And he just works hard. He's got big legs. He's strong. He's physical. He's mean. And he's good.
It's a really good combination there with all of those. His delivery is a clean one, too, and that seems to help in terms of keeping him bearable.
Stress-free.
For a guy that throws as hard as Verlander, not one of those max effort guys. Here's the 0-2. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Brian Dozier.
Dozier was a shortstop when the season began last year. But he made about 15 errors very early in the season, and he wasn't hitting very much. So he had to go back down to Rochester. But now he finds himself as the opening day second baseman for the Minnesota Twins.
.234 last year in the major leagues. And he got him. With the breaking ball, he froze him. Dozier is out of there. Verlander records his second strikeout of the game. Freezing Brian Dozier with a breaking ball. Tigers baseball today presented by Bell Tire. Well, as the Tigers have scored 3 early runs. Torrey Hunter starts it off and lines one to right field, and it's going to roll by Parmalee. Hunter is on his way to second. Here's the throw, not in time.
Great hustle by Torrey Hunter. Outstanding effort by Parmalee in right field, but he can't find it. Torrey Hunter very alertly running out of the batter's box full speed, and then once he gets to first base, he realizes that Parmalee can't find it, and then he gets to second base with a head-first slide in a very close play.
2 for 2 for Torrey Hunter. It's a 2-base hit.
Torrey Hunter already with 2 base hits the opposite way. This is a new look for me as far as Torrey Hunter is concerned. All the base hits the opposite way.
What did he tell us in spring camp? Early on in his career, he was with the Minnesota Twins and was counted on to hit a few more home runs, which do you think made him a pull hitter early in his career?
Probably. Whenever you're trying to hit home runs, you're not going to try to hit them the opposite way. So he probably did try to force the issue, and which made him a dead pull hitter early in his career. Of course, this guy standing in the batter's box, no one in the game from a right-handed standpoint has the kind of power that he has to reach the seats the opposite direction.
Tigers already with 6 hits in this game, 2 of them for Hunter. And a bouncing ball left side, deep in the hole. Florimon, great play, off balance throw in time for the out.
Advance Hunter to third base, but what a play by Florimon is short.
A lot of athleticism here by Florimon with Cabrera running down the line. He gets there, he reaches out for it, and the key to making the play was the fact that he didn't have to leave his feet. By staying on his feet, he simply planted with the right foot, turned his body, and made a very accurate throw all the way back across the diamond.
Hunter just 90 feet away now for Prince Fielder with 1 out.
Ron Gardenhire going to play his infield in with Prince Fielder standing in the batter's box.
Well, down 3 runs already. Justin Verlander on the hill for the other guys. Minnesota trying to limit the damage here.
Well, here's the situation. If you're Worley, you're already down by 3. You have Verlander on the mound for the Tigers. The one thing that he may consider doing here is pitching around Fielder to put him on first base and play for the double play. That's not the worst thing that he could do right now. Prince drove in 100 runs last year and drives in 100 just about every single year. So with the runner on third base, it's a pretty good bet he's going to drive the run in. Walk and play for 2.
Fielder 2-base hit to knock 1 in back in the first. He knocked in 108 last year. And he cues this one to short. Florimon has it. He'll hold the runner. 2 gone. So it worked out well. They saved a run there by pulling the infield in. And with 2 gone now, it'll take a hit from Victor Martinez.
Actually, Florimon may have backed up about 3 or 4 steps, which put him in a really good position to not only keep Hunter at third base, but also make the play to first base on Fielder.
Martinez struck out in the first inning on a pitch that he thought was out of the strike zone. It looked a little bit high, but he was rung up by Jim Joyce. He'll yank that one foul down the right field line.
And Victor Martinez in 2011, some of his secondary numbers were just simply off the chart. Runners in scoring position, he ranked first in the American League, 394. Hitting with 2 strikes, 299. That was first as well. And with 2 outs, he was very clutch, too.
Slow roller, first base side. It looks like it's going to stay fair. Worley has to throw quickly to record the out. So the Tigers unable to score the leadoff double. And they'll strand a man at third base. Tiger fans enjoying the early goings here. And a 3-0 lead. You're big.
When Torrey hit the free agent market last year, there was a couple of teams that he wanted to play for, but at the top of the list was the Detroit Tigers, and he had his agent, Larry Reynolds, call Dave Dombrowski and tell them just that. My client would like to play for your team. And, of course, David Dombrowski, they had the same ideas, too, because Torrey Hunter was one of the top guys on their list. So it took very little time for them to come together on an agreement for him to put on a Tigers uniform.
Well, and I think it was an easy choice for the Tigers because of what Torrey brings, but also the fact that he had a really good year last year.
He did. He was one of the best #2 hitters in the American League. Hit 300 for the very first time in his major league career.
Well, Pedro Florimon will lead it off for Minnesota. Florimon, Hicks, and Mauer. Facing Justin Verlander, who walked a man in the second. No damage, though. The Twins have had a couple of base runners, one via an error and one via the walk. And Florimon looks at a ball outside, 1-0. Hit .219 last year in the big leagues. That's in there, strike 1-1. John Keating was talking about this a little bit earlier. Typically, Justin Verlander does not like to pitch with sleeves. It's a feel thing for Verlander. And a lot of guys are the same way, but today, a little bit too chilly, so he's gone with sleeves. Bouncing ball right side. Routine play there for Infante. Florimon is out of there. 1 gone. Time for a game break. Back to the studio we go. And Mickey York.
This game break brought to you by Chrysler. Red Sox opening up in New York against the Yankees. 1-0 Sox in the second. Adding to it here, Shane Victorino with a base hit off CC Sabathia. Scored Jackie Bradley Jr. and Jose Iglesias. That made it 3-0 at the time. Boston goes on to win it by a final of 8-2. Mario, right?
All right, Mick, thanks very much. You're talking about those new look Yankees. They are really going to feature a new look when they come to town. A lot of injuries. May take a while before they get their full complement of players back on the field. Verlander missing outside to Aaron Hicks. Struck out back in the first. One of 2 Verlander's strikeouts so far in this game. Hicks was a really good golfer when he was a young man. In fact, he told his dad that he wanted to golf professionally. But he was also a very good baseball player as well. Fouled straight back 2-1, and as he became better and better in baseball, Dad said, why don't you give up golf, but if you want to be successful, you're going to have to learn to switch hit. And you see his numbers last year at AA New Britain, where he batted .286. He scored 100 runs last year.
I saw that.
In 129 games. Again off the mask of Avila. Ding dong.
All he could do is laugh now.
Avila, you know, typically when catchers take foul tips, they just careen off the mask, but his knocked the mask off. More times than not. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And he got him. Strike 3 called. And Hicks punches out for the 2nd time in this game. 3 down for JV. We'll bring up Joe Mauer. The Bernstein Advantage brings you the scouting report on Joe Mauer. Get the Bernstein Advantage. We go to bat for you. And what's the best way to get him out?
Well, what you have to do is pitch him down and away. You see the 200 batting average at the bottom of the strike zone and also 210. And that's exactly what Verlander did his first time up. He threw him a tailing fastball down and away. Mauer did reach base, but he did not hit the ball very hard in the infield. This is exactly where you need to pitch Joe Mauer if you're going to get him out.
JV stays away with the fastball. 1-0.
So Verlander very good at pitching to the weakness of one of the best left-handed hitters in the game of baseball, and that's Joe Mauer.
Mauer did reach on an error by Cabrera in the first. The ball that was not hit all that hard. How often will a guy like Verlander look at a scouting report now against a team that he has seen over and over and over, and especially a guy like Mauer, a hitter that he has seen over and over?
I think he'll study the tapes. I think he'll study what kind of success any hitter is having against him or has had against him, because it changes from, you know, start to start. Mauer may be hot today, but he may be cold the next time Verlander sees him. So I think it just kind of depends on what you want to do, but you see those numbers. Mauer, you're not afraid of Verlander.
Yeah, typically he's been hot. 351.
If nothing else, it tells you just how good Mauer is. There's not a lot of guys walking around in the major leagues that have a batting average of 350 or better against the best pitcher in the game.
9th consecutive opening day start behind the plate for the Minnesota Twins. And 351 against Verlander, awfully gaudy numbers. Here comes a 2-2 breaking ball, and it's hammered to left field. It's down. Gonna go to the corner. It's extra bases. Mauer is on his way to second. He'll pull in with a double. And those numbers just went up a tick.
And Verlander didn't get this breaking ball where he wanted to get it. It landed right in the heart of the plate. But Mauer's got a great swing. He's got the hand. Take a look. Just looking down here at the baseball, the concentration is tremendous by Joe Mauer, and that's exactly where he hits the ball most of the time. He's got a short stride. There's a nice transfer. And you can draw a line right down the center of his body from the helmet to the ground to indicate the balance that he has in his swing.
And that is the first hit for Minnesota this afternoon. A 2-out 2-base hit by Mauer. Here's Willingham.
0-1 to Willingham, who popped up his only trip so far. You're mentioning there is some firepower in the middle of this Twins lineup when you talk about Mauer and Willingham, who drove in 110 last year. Morneau, if he can return back to form. Verlander 50 pitches now, 30 of which have been strikes. Verlander last year went every start, every single one of them, 33 with at least 100 pitches. He was never knocked out of a game early. And a strike call. 1-2. Got him. Strike 3 on the outer edge. Willingham is done. And nothing comes of the 2-out double. 4 strikeouts for JP.
Has scored a run. Cabrera's driven in one and scored a run. And of course, Prince Fielder's also driven in a run here today.
And as we go to the 4th inning, it'll be Andy Dirks to start things off for the Tigers, facing Vance Worley. 1 ball to no strikes on Dirks. 0 for 1 in this one.
I think we're going to be saying that a lot this year. A lot of production at the top of that batting order.
I'd be surprised if we didn't. That's lifted foul and back out of play. And when you look back at that 1st inning, I'm not sure you can draw it up any better.
They appear to me to be super locked in. Very first game of the year. Very cold conditions on the field, obviously. But the hitters are getting good swings. They're making Worley throw the ball over the plate. When he does, he has made him pay.
The 1-1. You know, one of the things that Jim Leyland has worried about is expectations. This team had a lot of them last year. Do you think he's done a good job of managing those expectations this year?
For sure. No doubt he has mentioned to his players what they went through back in 2008 when they also had a very good club that they didn't finish very well. Didn't play very well, but they appear to be getting off to a very good start here.
Prince doing some work on his bat. 3-1 pitch. He lost him. Ball 4. Leadoff walk. The Tigers have gotten the leadoff man on in each of the first 4 innings against Worley. Here's Peralta. Johnny had a base hit. Scored a run. And he looks to strike 1. Worley, we mentioned, 25 years old, out of Sacramento, is one of the pitching prospects they returned or got in return for Ben Revere. The trade they made in the offseason. Hammered down the right field line, slicing, and that ball is foul. Boy, Dirks would have scored easily on that one. But it just kept tailing away. The difference between a double and an RBI and a long strike.
You mentioned Worley from Northern California, went to McClatchy High School. The same high school that produced Larry Boa and also Nick Johnson.
Wow. Well, they're hoping that he will be part of their rotation, and a big part of their rotation for years to come. Foul tipped, and Mauer could not hold on.
I was reading his bio a couple of days ago, and I noticed the McClatchy High School. I went to McClatchy High School back in 1996 to scout Nick Johnson when he was playing there as a senior. So I've been on that campus.
Oh, I thought you went there to go to school.
Oh, no. I'm a Southern California boy.
Santa Monica. And fouled off. Worley, born in Sacramento and played his college ball at Long Beach State. Phillies plucked him in the 3rd round back in 2008. And again the 0-2. Swing and a miss. Down he goes. 1 out.
And one of the best breaking balls that Worley has thrown today. It started out about the knees of Peralta. By the time it got in the hitting zone, and the bottom fell out of it.
Here is Alex Avila. Strikeout victim back in the 2nd. Are you surprised at all, Rod, that the Twins would trade both Denard Span and Ben Revere in the offseason?
I was surprised because really, I mean, you're talking about a couple of guys that bat at the top of the order with tremendous speed. And of course, Span was hitting close to 300 every single year. And Revere was just kind of starting his big league career. But we talked about it briefly a couple of innings ago. In order to get something, you have to give up something. And Terry Ryan, their general manager, felt like he had a couple of chips to trade away to bring back some pitching, which he did. And he also had this young kid, Aaron Hicks, that was waiting in the wings to play center field. They didn't expect Hicks to get here as quickly as he did, but they knew they had a center fielder to replace them.
1 ball and no strikes on Avila. Well, Worley, one of those pieces they got in return. They also, in the Span deal with Washington, got Alex Meyer, who is a 6'10" right-hander who they feel is maybe in a year or so going to be a part of their rotation as well.
Fastball in the mid to upper 90s.
It's all about pitching. I mean, you're constantly saying that. I think we all believe it. Here's the 2-0. That'll get back out of play. 2-1 on Avila.
Well, last year, from a pitching standpoint, the Minnesota Twins just were not good at all. As far as the ERA was concerned, defensively, they weren't very good. They made 107 errors. This club did not look like a club managed by Ron Gardenhire. This club had gone to the postseason a bunch under Gardenhire, but the last couple of years, a couple of last place finishes and close to 200 losses.
Three balls and 1 strike.
Here's some of the numbers and ranks of their starting staff last year. Only 1 guy is left from that starting staff, and that's Scott Diamond. He's on the disabled list right now.
Twins restructured their coaching spots at the major league level as well. Only Rick Anderson returns in his spot from last year, in the last couple of years. Grounded to first. They'll fire to second. 1 on the relay. Not in time. 2 gone now with the man at first. And a reminder to have your picnic or party at an upcoming Tigers game. 2013 group picnics and party suites are on sale now. Groups of 15 or more get discounted tickets to select games. Call 313-471-BALL or visit tigers.com. Here's Omar Infante. RBI single out of the 9 spot in the lineup, I should say, back in the 2nd. And for Infante, his first RBI of the year, coming over last season, and then midseason trade that also brought Anibal Sanchez to Detroit. First pitch inside, 1-0. Omar last year knocked in 20 in a Tigers uniform. Also stole 7 bases after coming over in that deal. I don't know that the Tigers this year, Rod, will steal a whole lot more than they did last year, but Torrey Hunter gives them a guy that can swipe one every now and then, and so does Infante.
Of course, Jackson has said that he'd like to run a little bit more than he did last year, but if you're Jim Leyland, it's a risky proposition. You don't want to run yourself into a lot of outs, especially with the guys that you have in the middle of the batting order in Miguel and Prince and Victor Martinez, because those guys can drive you in from first base as well as driving you in when you're in scoring position.
1-2 the count. That one just missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Two outs, a runner at first base. Tigers got 2 runs in the first, 1 in the second. They lead 3-0. Torrey Hunter's had a nice start, couple of hits. His first game in a Tigers uniform, single and a double. Soft line drive, base hit, left field. That'll put 2 aboard now as Infante is 2 for 2.
Omar Infante had 6 prior at bats against Worley. Those came in the senior circuit. That would be the National League. It did not get a knock against him, but first 2 swings here today in the American League against Worley, 2 for 2.
Omar's hands might be stinging a little bit right now.
Fastball must have got in on his hands.
You can tell he's feeling it.
He'll take that base hit though.
Those batting gloves can only protect you from so much.
They don't help.
Not at all.
They don't help. Not on a day like today. The only thing that helps you on a day like today is sweet spot contact. You've got to hit the ball on the sweet spot of the bat.
Or a 2 for 2.
That'll help too.
Which is what Infante has. There's Jackson. He singled and scored in the first. Bounced into a double play in the second. Shadows now covering both the home plate area and the pitching mound. Missed it inside, backed him out of there. Of course, the Tigers have some changes in the coaching box as well. Tommy Brookins takes over at third base as the coach down there, and Rafael Belliard all bundled up at first base. Gene Lamont is the bench coach this year for Jim Leyland. Wave and a miss. And I guess that's not really a big change for Gene Lamont. I mean, other than the fact that he's not standing in the third base coaching box, because although he didn't have that title, he did serve pretty much as a bench coach for Jim Leyland.
That he did.
One ball, 2 strikes. Missed it inside. I was talking to Gene Lamont at Tiger Fest this year about that change. He said, you know, there were a couple of balls that were hit at me in the third base coaching box last year. He said I just could not get out of the way. And he said I realized at that point I might be better off in the dugout.
He won't have to worry about it anymore.
Got that protective fence in front of the dugout area. Bouncing ball left side. Florimon on the charge. Bobbles, and he has no play. Everybody is safe. E6.
We've already watched Florimon make a very good play in this game, but give Avila a little credit here, because Avila kind of slows down a little bit. He lets the ball get past, but he also distracts Florimon just a second there, and because of that, Florimon can't field that ball cleanly, and he gets an error on the play.
And it also loads the bases now for the Tigers. And here is Torrey Hunter, who bats .316 career with them loaded. Foul tip, strike 1. Torrey signed a 2-year deal to become a Tiger back in November. 9 Gold Gloves on his mantle, 7 of those coming right here in the Twin Cities with Minnesota. Swing and a miss. 90 up in the zone. He threw it by him. 0-2.
That's the one pitch that Torrey told me before the game that he had to try to lay off of, because it looks like you can hit that pitch at 88 to 90 miles an hour, but if it's up around the letters and above, it's very difficult for you to catch up with.
Little number back toward the mound. Worley has it. His throw is in time, and the Tigers will leave them loaded. No runs, a hit. 3 men left.
He will be at the top of that list when it's all said and done.
JV has kept the Minnesota Twins off the scoreboard so far as we go to the bottom of the 4th.
Prince putting his gear back on.
It looks like between innings he's ready to kind of ski out to his position.
Well, he took it off, you know, a couple of innings ago, and I guess that didn't work out very well for him, so he's bundled back up again.
How can he see?
I don't blame him. It is chilly down there.
Justin Morneau leads it off. 3-0 in favor of Detroit. Bottom of the 4th inning at Target Field. Morneau looks at ball 1.
Morneau playing for a new contract. He is a free agent after this season is over. His representatives, they contacted the Twins during the course of spring training and wanted to see if they wanted to renegotiate a new deal. And the Twins said, no, we'll wait it out. But I guess if you're the Minnesota Twins, I mean, how could you justify giving him a lengthy deal due to what has gone on the last few years as far as his health is concerned?
No, I agree with that 100%. Now, his numbers did rebound a little bit last year, but you're absolutely right. I mean, he's just about a year away from the concussion that sidelined him. And he says he feels great. He says that's all behind him. But I think the Twins, when you're making a sizable investment like that, want to be sure. Don't blame him. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Morneau.
Which is good for him. 11th season, 280 career average, 200 homers, a lot of RBIs. He's won an MVP. He's made all-star teams.
Here's the 1-2. Slap foul, back out of play. Well, when he was on, he was really on. He had 4 consecutive years of over 100 RBIs. In fact, he had a really good WBC this year, playing for Team Canada, with 7 for 11 in the World Baseball Classic. Bouncing ball, third base side, right by Cabrera into left field. Morneau takes the turn on his way to second, and the throw is off target. Leadoff double.
It's a fastball that's down and away, and a nice piece of hitting by Morneau. And Andy Dirks got over there and looked like he may have gotten caught off guard at the fact that Morneau would stretch that single into a double, which he did. And it wasn't a very good throw by Dirks there.
Second straight inning now. The Twins have a 2-bagger. Here's Ryan Doumit. Minnesota has their second hit of the game. Ball 1 high. This in the past is where Verlander has been at his best, where he really reaches back when you have a man in scoring position, nobody out.
That's a great point. He threw his best fastball of the afternoon at 95 miles an hour to strike out Josh Willingham to end the 3rd inning. And so many times last year we watched Verlander in this situation, as you mentioned, just get awfully tough with runners in the scoring position for the other side.
It seems like he finds that extra gear and says, all right, you guys want to threaten, but this is as far as it's going to go.
And there is just a couple of guys in the game of baseball that can go from 90 miles an hour on one pitch and go all the way up to 100 miles an hour on the next pitch. And we're looking at one of those. Command not great today.
No.
He might be swinging here 3-0 if he gets a fastball.
3-1. It has to be, I would imagine, a little bit more difficult to get loose on a day like today where it's really, really cold. I mean, the temperature in the low 30s. Scarves, hats, everything. Jackets. Swing and a miss. So it's 3-2 now on Ryan Doumit. Domit's nice and warm with that beard he has sporting today. The person on the right is really cold right now.
It ain't enough blankets, buddy, to keep them warm today. The people that are sitting out there in the sun are actually probably not too bad. There's people in the shade that are freezing right now.
Pretty good rip right there by Doumit at a 3-2 fastball.
Them folks out there got a little sun shining on them. You don't see as many blankets out there.
Yeah, you're okay if you're sitting over there. The outfield bleachers, doesn't matter where. Leadoff double by Morneau. He's at second. And a foul tip into the glove, and Verlander comes back to strike out Doumit.
Here's what sets Justin Verlander from most. 3-2. He comes back with a changeup at 83 miles an hour. Ever so slightly, the speed variance from 92 on the previous fastball gets Doumit out in front, and he swings right over the top of it. But very few pitchers have that confidence to throw that pitch in the situation that he just threw it in.
5 strikeouts for Verlander. Here is Trevor Plouffe. Ball 1 to Plouffe.
Plouffe hit the ball extremely hard. His first time up, he lined out to Johnny Peralta. It was a frozen rope, though.
In the air to center. Jackson measuring it. Morneau tagging and moving up. 2 gone. So Verlander 1 out away now from getting out of this 4th inning jam. The leadoff double by Morneau. He's standing at 3rd with 2 away. We'll bring up Chris Parmelee. Base on balls his first time up. Ball 1. The Twins have not defeated Justin Verlander since April of 2010. And Justin has won each of his last 7 decisions against Minnesota. Has a 3-0 lead here this afternoon. Check swing strike.
Talked about the shadows here today and what the hitter is looking at. Now the hitter's in the light and the pitcher's in the dark.
Ball inside. It was the other way around. Then they were both in the shade. Now there's a sliver of sunlight over home plate. Bouncing ball to short. Johnny Peralta is there. And the threat is over. No runs. A leadoff double is stranded at 3rd base. 4 in the books as we go to the 5th. It'll be Miguel Cabrera leading it off for Detroit. Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is brought to you by Bell Tire. Get the lowest tire price, period. Bell Tire. Back here at Target Field in Minneapolis. Tigers got 3 early runs, and so far it has held up. as we go to the top of the 5th inning. 3 runs, 7 hits. Detroit, no runs, 2 hits for the Minnesota Twins. And the Tigers in the 5th inning will have the middle of their lineup, 3, 4, and 5 coming up. Miguel Cabrera starting things off. 0 for 2. He has an RBI in this game. Florimon made a great play against him the last time that he hit back in the 3rd, robbing him of a base hit. And the first pitch is in for a strike. Five straight years of 100 or more RBIs for Cabrera. He knocked in 139 last year. 1-1. Well, it hasn't been super pretty, but Worley, since the first couple of innings, has settled in a little bit. I mean, the Tigers have still put runners against him. In fact, they left the bases loaded in the 4th, but he has limited the damage. That's in there for a strike. 1-2.
Unfortunately for a guy like Worley or any opposing pitcher, when Justin Verlander is towing the rubber for the Tigers, your margin for error is very slim. It could very well be the 3 runs he's already given up are too many for his club to overcome with Justin Verlander on the mound.
Definitely quite possible. Worley came over from the Phillies organization. He said the one thing that was an advantage for him was pitching behind Roy Halladay, Cole Hamels, Cliff Lee, and so he could see how those guys went about their business and getting ready for their starts every 5th day. The 1-2 on the ground, back up the middle. Florimon to his left. 1 away.
Take a look at our Bell Tire pitch by pitch at how Worley has kind of done to Cabrera here today. He starts him off with a little lollipop breaking ball for strike 1. Then he comes back with a mixture of different fastballs that are well located outside, and he finally gets him on another fastball in the same spot, right back up the middle, that Florimon fields cleanly and throws across the diamond. So a lot of fastballs down and away from Worley to Cabrera today.
And that's the first time in this game so far the Tigers have not gotten the leadoff man on. Prince Fielder doubled in a run back in the 1st. Swing and a miss. Jim Leyland talking this afternoon about this before the game, and Prince Fielder, and Prince by no means struggled last year. His numbers were dynamite, and Leyland said, I'll take him again this year. But you would have to think that 1 year through the American League now, Prince has to feel a bit more comfortable.
He also has someone hitting behind him that's going to protect him a little bit, which will allow him to get better pitches to hit. He did not have the luxury of really having anybody hit behind him that had a good year last year. Therefore, Prince pretty much had to fight for everything that he got last year, but he was good at it.
Victor Martinez will back him up this year, and the numbers on Fielder: .412 on base percentage. Second best behind Mauer in the American League. Looped in the air to center. Florimon will backpedal to the grass. 2 gone. We'll bring up the aforementioned Victor Martinez. Victor 0 for 2 so far. Strikeout, ground out. It was January of 2012 when Martinez underwent the microfracture surgery on his knee. Tigers, for a while there, thought he might be able to come back late last season, but they shut down those plans. And it's in for a strike. And ever since the Tigers signed Prince Fielder, everyone talking about what's it going to be like in 2013 when you have Prince and you get Victor back. Well, we're about to see. The 0-1. 0-2. So Martinez quickly in the hole. right side.
Victor Martinez and the starting pitcher here today, Worley, might be the only 2 players on the field that aren't wearing sleeves.
Tough guys. Here's the 1-2. Back out of play. Well, Martinez, of course, didn't play last year, but he does have a little bit of background here. These are updated numbers. 408 at Target Field. With 13 RBIs. Pulled on the ground at first, and again, right there is Morneau. And it's going to be a 1-2-3 inning. Nothing doing for the Tigers. And you're watching Tigers baseball today, presented by Bell Tire.
For those of you just joining us, the Tigers scored 2 runs in the very first inning against the starter Vance Worley. Jackson 3-2 count, base hit the opposite way. Next batter, Jackson on the move, hit and run variety. Torrey Hunter was successful. Miguel drove in 1 with a ground out, and then you also have Prince Fielder slicing a double down the corner, also driving in a run.
Couple of runs in the first, 1 more in the second, and the Tigers continue to lead this one 3-0 behind Justin Verlander. It'll be Brian Dozier leading it off, and Pedro Florimon, and then Aaron Hicks. 8, 9, and 1 in Ron Gardenhire's lineup here today. Dozier struck out back in the second. Wave and a miss. 1 ball, 1 strike. First time Dozier's been on an opening day roster. .298 career hitter in the minor leagues. Little bounce in there. I know what little we saw of him last year at the major league level at the shortstop position, Rod. He seemed like a kid that was pretty active, pretty athletic out there at short.
He was that. Also a real good fastball hitter, but he got a lot of breaking balls in his first tour of duty in the major leagues. Therefore, the batting average was right around .230, and his offense started to affect his defense, as it does so many times with very young players when they're not swinging the bats well. Because for a lot of these kids that come from the minor leagues to the big leagues, it's the first time they really struggle, and they take the bad at bats out to them on the defensive side.
Well, he's ahead 3-1. Hammer to the air to center field. Jackson is on the run. Still going back, and he'll track it down.
Jackson already at it. In a very spacious outfield here at Target Field, and Verlander threw Dozier a fastball right down the middle, and Dozier, he drilled it. But Jackson, he takes a great route to get to this ball, a direct line, and runs it down and makes it look rather easy.
Dozier hammered that ball, and he has nothing to show for it. 4-11 out there in left center. Jackson makes it look so easy. Here's Pedro Florimon. Down the middle it comes. Fastball. Florimon bounced out to Infante his first time up. Oh, 2. That'll bounce in there. Florimon right now handling the shortstop position at the major league level. The Twins do have a prospect, but he's still very young. Danny Santana. They feel there's a most athletic shortstop in the minor leagues, but he's probably going to be at A-ball this year, so he's a few years away. Florimon has had big league time with the Orioles prior to his time here with the Twins. Twins do feel they do have some prospects on the horizon. And the 1-2. In the shallow right field, it's going to drop. Base hit right in front of Torrey Hunter. One out single for Pedro Florimon. AT&T trivia question today. Since 1901, 3 teams have 5 different pitchers with at least 1,500 strikeouts. We asked you to name them, and they are the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Athletics. And Justin Verlander, once he gets to that plateau at some point this year, will have the Tigers join that list. Top of the order now, Aaron Hicks. Ball 1. Well, Hicks, as we mentioned, making the big league club out of camp. He played Double-A last year, so he jumps over Triple-A. And his first taste of the big leagues, you got to face Justin Verlander on opening day.
Tough duty.
JV's got him twice already, 2 strikeouts. Verlander has fanned 5 so far in this game. Swing and a miss.
Good changeup. Outstanding changeup. It's a 1-0 count. Hicks is dialed in for that fastball, and Verlander pulls the string on him, and he about screwed himself into the ground. You don't see that in Double-A very often.
No, I was about to say the very same thing. Foul straight back. 1-2, so he's got Hicks set up again. He was drafted out of high school in Long Beach, California, first rounder back in 08. He stole 32 bases last year, along with the outstanding numbers that he put up. Scored 100 runs, and he's getting his first crack at the major leagues. Swing and a miss. Down he goes again. Struck him out for the 3rd time.
Verlander fell behind the youngster Hicks. 1 ball, no strikes. He comes back with a changeup, followed by a 94-mile-per-hour fastball. Then he comes back with a curveball, and that is the 3rd strikeout of the day for the youngster Hicks in his major league debut.
He hit that pitch. 6 strikeouts now for JV. Here's Joe Mauer.
Apparently the chilly conditions here this afternoon is not hurting the breaking ball of Justin Verlander at all.
Well, that last one had some sharp bite. What have you noticed on his fastball velocity? I know you mentioned he threw one at 95 to Willingham.
I think he has done what he's had to do. I know Justin has a lot more in his tank if he wanted to dial up in the upper 90s with his fastball, but he really hasn't been stressed out at all. There's really only been a 1 runner in scoring position. Well, actually 2 runners in scoring position against him today, so he really hasn't had to reach back and get up in the upper 90s with his fastball. He's been right around 89 to 93, but he's spotted it well when he's had to.
He's at 84 pitches right now. 2-0 on Joe Mauer. Mauer last year played in 147 games. Career high.
So many of those games, though, were as a designated hitter or at first base. Almost half of them.
You know, Buster Posey got that big deal a couple of days ago. Mauer signed a long-term contract, and you got to believe that with those 2 guys, eventually the catching spot will not be where they land.
Agreed. There will come a time where their age will outgrow that position.
3-0 pitch. He's taking, and it's ball 4. Two out, 1. Hey, make sure you visit your life-size Detroit Tigers located in the north lobby of the GM Renaissance Center. For more information on April in the D, please visit foxsportsdetroit.com. 2 on, 2 out now. And Verlander will face the number 3 hitter, Josh Willingham. He's the tying run at the plate. The Twins have not been able to do a whole lot today, but they've got a shot right here. And it's in there for a strike. 0-1. That fastball at 93. Strikeout pop up for Willingham.
This much we do know with Justin Verlander's pinch count nearing 90 for the game. Jim Leyland's going to have to get 3 innings out of his bullpen today. And if the score stays as it is, we're going to see who that closer is going to be today.
Yeah, it's not going to take long. Good block by Avila.
Although I have a feeling it will be between 2 people down there, and that's Phil Coke and Joaquin Benoit, depending on the situation.
Of course, the Tigers went into spring camp thinking that perhaps Bruce Rondon could corral that position. It didn't work out that way. There's Benoit right there in the middle.
Not only did Rondon not end up being the closer, but he pitched his way off the opening day roster.
Right. The 1-2. Got him. Strike 3. Willingham is caught looking. Give Verlander 7 strikeouts. This one will strand 2 runners.
It's April in the D on Fox Sports Detroit.
Tigers lead this one 3-0 as we go to the top of the 6th inning here at Target Field. By the way, you can vote for your Tigers McDonald's Player of the Game, presented by the new Premium McWrap. Using your cell phone, text Tigers followed by a space and the player's uniform number to 37338, or you can vote online at foxsportsdetroit.com. Could it be Justin Verlander?
Well, Verlander might be done for the day, but he did his best work while he was in there. Not many on the breaking ball. He spotted his fastball very nicely down and away. Got the youngster Hicks 3 times today. He also got Josh Willingham a couple of times. He finished him off last half inning with a really nice breaking ball. So just a good afternoon for Justin Verlander. It appears that the Tigers bullpen is going to have to get 4 innings of outs here today.
In the meantime, the offense will try and build on the lead. 3-0 is our score as Andy Dirks leads it off. And here are the final numbers, it appears, on Justin Verlander. 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, and only 3 hits allowed. Wave and a miss. Well, there is Drew Smyly, who did not win the 5 spot in the rotation in spring camp. That went to Porcello, and Drew pitching out of the bullpen.
There was a lot of talk about if Smyly did not win that 5th spot over Porcello, that he would start in the minors.
Slow roller toward first base. Morneau flips to Worley, 1 gone.
But the Tigers felt like early in the season they could probably get enough work for Smyly, and because he had already been stretched out as a starter in spring training, that it wouldn't really affect him during the month of April.
How do you feel about that? Because there are a lot of folks that feel that he should be at AAA because his future is as a starter. He should be starting every 5th day down in the minor leagues. But I'm of the opinion that I think your best team at the major league level is with Drew Smyly in the bullpen.
Well, when you look at this current pitching staff right now that the Tigers have, Verlander and Fister and Scherzer and Sanchez and now Porcello, I really don't see a spot for Drew Smyly. So it may be the next couple of years that he has to pitch out of the Tigers bullpen.
That's a good point. As he is warming up right now. And a big swing there by Peralta. Well, the Tigers were able to get to Worley early in this game. In fact, it looked like they would knock him out of the game, but he's not allowed a run since the 2nd, and there is activity. Former Tiger Casey Fien in the Minnesota bullpen. Slow roller left side off the glove of Plouffe and into left field. Hey, by the way, you can see the Tigers battle the Blue Jays on April 9th through the 11th at 108 and take advantage of the Super Spring Special. Upper box seats are half price, only $13. Call 866-66-TIGER or visit tigers.com.
They ruled that a base hit.
Did they? Boy, they did. I assume by your tone you disagree.
Oh, that should have been an error.
I'm with you on that. Here's Avila. To the right side. Dozier had trouble getting out of his glove. That'll cost him a chance and a double play, but they get the force.
Here's a play where Dozier's still trying to learn second base, because with Avila running here, he didn't really have to leave his feet. And by leaving his feet, it took time for him to get the ball from the glove to the throwing hand, and they were only able to get the one out. But if he stays on his feet, he may have been able to turn and give Florimon a better feed, and they may have had a chance to turn it over.
Instead, the inning is still alive, and here is Infante, who's had a nice start. 2013, couple of hits and an RBI as well.
Infante not going to get jammed again. He got jammed the second time that he was up, but he got a base hit though, and he was way out in front of that one. That's the one thing about this weather as a hitter. You really have to plan to catch that baseball out in front of the plate.
Yeah, it looked like Infante, when he was at first base after his last single, could not feel his hands. Chopped the third foul.
Of course, Infante had that wrist injury at the end of last year, the little hairline fracture, and going from the very warm weather in Florida, although the spring wasn't really all that warm.
It really wasn't.
But you get up here to this cold weather, and guys that have had little aches and pains and bad knees and different things like that, you're going to feel those.
0-2 on Omar. You'd always say it wasn't a good spring weather-wise, and the folks in Michigan don't want to hear how 60 degrees is not warm, especially in the winter. But by Florida standards, it was cool and windy this spring.
It was one of the worst weather springs that I have been involved in a number of years. And the folks that made the trip down to spring training, they know that, because there was a lot of Tiger fans down there at Joe Marchant Stadium. Joe Marchant Stadium, I should say. Joker Marchant Stadium. Easy for me to say.
2-2. People have been down there about, what, 20 times? 2-2 the count on Infante. What? One thing about Joker Marchant, they filled it up every single day, didn't they?
Record numbers again.
Yeah. Worley is about to throw his 100th pitch of this game. He did it again to him. This time he broke his bat. Look at him.
It's not fun.
No, it's not.
Not fun. Look at his face.
It's almost as if he was saying ouch before he even made contact with it.
Well, he's taking a lot of time putting some more stickum on that bat just so he can try to get the feeling back in his hands before he goes back up there.
Meanwhile, Worley at 100 pitches, 68 of those for strikes. Tigers have not been able to get to him since getting a run in the second. 3-0 Detroit. Little pop-up back short, and Florimon is able to battle the sun and make the play. So the Tigers get a base hit and strand a man. Bottom of the sixth coming up.
Did a nice job last year pitching in 23 games, a 4-3 record. They had a 3.99 ERA, 99 in the third innings. And take a look at the strikeouts to walks ratio. 94 strikeouts, just 33 walks for the talented left-hander.
Justin Morneau, the first man he will face here in the 6th inning. Tigers on top by 3. And a strike call to the outer edge.
Well, one of the things that Smiley worked on in spring training, he really worked on defining his changeup to go along with the real good cut fastball that he has. Also has a 4-seamer he'll get up to 93 with.
Verlander goes 5. Smiley here in the 6th. He'll face Morneau, Domit, and Plouffe. Stayed away again. 2-1 on Morneau. Lifted in the air, left field. And caught on the run by Dirks. Game break time. Back to the studio we go. Here's Mickey York.
Mario, this game break brought to you by Henry Ford Health Systems. 2 more Central Division fills. The Royals and White Sox going at it in the 5th. Tyler Flowers catches James Shields hanging one over the plate here and makes him pay. Takes it out to left center to put the Sox on the board. Still 1-0 Chicago as they play in the 8th, guys.
All right, Mickey, thank you. Here it is 3-0 in favor of Detroit. It's been that way since the 2nd inning this afternoon. Ball 1 to Ryan Domit. Domit today was 0 for 2 against Verlander. Fly ball and a strikeout. And he looks at ball 2. It was just a couple of years ago that Drew Smiley was the Tigers minor league pitcher of the year. That was 2011. Bouncing ball left side, foul ball at third base. Well, for a while there, he was neck and neck with Porcello in terms of numbers this spring.
4-0 and with a 3.38 ERA. Didn't walk many. That's the one thing that you admire about young pitchers, is that they come to the big leagues. They're not in awe of the hitters that they're going up against, and they throw lots of strikes.
You know, when you have a competition like that, Ron, in spring camp, you have 2 guys that are both pitching well. You don't really see that very often. You see one guy typically kind of separate himself from the other guy, but Smiley and Porcello were neck and neck.
They both pitched very well, but me personally, I don't really think there was a competition going on. You know, I think that they tried to light a fire underneath Porcello, a guy that had already won 48 big league games in his first 4 years in the majors, but really struggled last year, gave up more hits in the American League than anybody. But I think they wanted to light a fire underneath him, and they did a very nice job of getting his attention, because I saw a whole different Rick Porcello in spring training.
Yeah, that we did. And hopefully it'll be something that carries over into the regular season this year. 2 outs now.
Porcello pitched so well in spring training that he's not necessarily your number 5 starter. He's getting the ball here on Thursday.
Fine drive, left field. That's going to drop. Fair ball. Trevor Plouffe on his way to second. 2-out, 2-base hit for Plouffe.
Here's a changeup. You can see the grip. But the difference in this being the double that it is and it being a ground ball to the shortstop is the fact that he didn't pull it down. He left that ball up in the zone. And Plouffe, who is a dead pull hitter, was able to hit it off the end of the bat to get himself a double.
That is the 3rd double that Minnesota has had today. In fact, they've had at least 1 base runner in every inning so far. It'll be up to the Tigers bullpen today to protect this 3-0 lead. Here's Chris Parmelee. Walking a ground out. Ball 1 smothered there by Avila. It was looking, Rod, like this was going to be a day in which the Tiger bats were going to absolutely boom. I mean, they had Worley on the ropes early.
It started out that way. But give Worley some credit. He started to make better pitches. And even though they continued to get guys on base, he made really good pitches when there was runners in scoring position.
Tigers today have out hit
The Minnesota Twins 8-4. Outside. 2-0 on Parmelee. One of my favorite memories of the early part of last season was Smiley getting his first major league win at Yankee Stadium in April.
Lights out that day. He dealt.
1 run, struck out 7 in 6 innings.
And that was the real good Yankee squad.
Right.
Anderson, Rodriguez, Jeter, Swisher, Cano. He was good.
2-1 on Chris Parmelee. Three and 1. Verlander struck out 7 through 5 innings. 8 total strikeouts for Tigers pitching this afternoon.
Justin didn't have great command today. 5 innings through 91 pitches, but in these conditions, it's tough to really command the baseball.
And he lost him, ball 4. A couple of 2-out base runners now. That's going to bring the tying run to the plate. Jim Leyland starts to pace a little bit. You know, even though the Tigers have been in control of this game, he can't feel really comfortable. It is still only 3-0. And Dozier, a strikeout and a flyout, stands in. Ball 1.
Yeah, be careful here with the next pitch. If he decides to throw a fastball here to Dozier. He's a good fastball hitter. The last time he had himself in a good fastball count, Jackson in center field had to make a really good play.
And the pitching coach strolling out to the mound now. Jeff Jones will make his first appearance of 2013. And as they chat quickly on the mound, it's time for tonight's Ace Hardware Scott's fan poll question of the game. After Justin Verlander, which Tigers starter will win the most games? Is it A, Sanchez, B, Porcello, C, Fister, or D, Max Scherzer? You can enter your vote by texting ACE followed by a space, then the letter answer to 37338. See the final results at our post-game edition of Tigers Live.
With this Tigers offense, all 4 of those gentlemen have a chance of winning 15 games or more.
Well, if they do that, it's going to be a whale of a season. They certainly have the skill and, as you mentioned, the offensive support behind them to accomplish just that. Meanwhile, Smiley now continues to fall behind. It's 2-0 on Dozier. Now 3 balls and no strikes. And the pacing continues for Jim Leyland. Checking out the lineup card. And he walked it. That is going to load the bases for Minnesota. A double and 2 walks, all with 2 outs. Al Albuquerque warming up. Meanwhile, Pedro Florimon due up. We'll get a pinch hitter.
Former Tiger Wilkin Ramirez.
Familiar face.
Wilkin Ramirez at one time was a huge prospect in the Tigers organization. And now he's going to get a chance here with the bases loaded. Pinch hitting for Florimon. Swing and a miss. Remember when Ramirez came up? I know both you and I were really impressed with. It appeared to be a pretty good skill set. Hit some homers in the minor leagues. Can run a little bit.
He can do it all. He's got a good arm as well.
The 0-1. Line drive foul, and now it's 0-2.
And whatever you do here, if you're Smiley, if you decide to bounce the breaking ball, you have to bounce it because Avila will get down and block it. If you do throw the fastball up in the strike zone to Ramirez, you got to make sure you get it up in an area where he can't get to it.
Here's the 0-2. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Wilkin Ramirez. After he left the Tigers, some big league time briefly with Atlanta. That was back in 2011. He was in the Twins organization last year. Smiley trying to dig out of a jam here with the bases loaded. Now Ramirez given time. He made the club because of a big spring. In fact, he hit 404 spring training. Trying to keep warm any way they can. Missed it again. 2-2. So Ramirez has fought himself back into the count now. Drew Smiley, meanwhile, about to throw his 25th pitch.
Yeah, best pitch here might be the breaking ball. And to get him to swing and miss. If he throws a fastball to the plate, Ramirez will hit it.
Bounced it in. It'll get away from Avila, and a run will score. And it's going to get into the dugout. Parmalee is in to make it a 3-1 ball game. All 3 runners move up, and the Twins are on the board. And a wild pitch.
Absolutely nothing that Avila could do with this breaking ball in the dirt. He tried to get over and tried to smother it, hit off his left wrist, and bounced over to the Tigers dugout. Smiley has thrown a total of 25 pitches. 16 of those have missed the strike zone.
And now he has painted himself into a corner here, 3-2, with the tying runs in scoring position. Toward right field, slicing, and back toward the seats. 3-2 the count stays on Wilkin Ramirez. Only 4 hits given up today by Tigers pitching. Aaron Hicks on deck, and he is happy to see Justin Verlander out of the game. And now time again, and Avila will take another trip out to the mound. Boy, this was looking like an easy, snappy inning for Smiley. Before Plouffe doubled with 2 outs. Wild pitch has scored a run. And the 3-2. Ground ball left side. Johnny to his right. Scooped at first base by Prince Fielder. Nicely done at first by the Prince. Smiley says thank you very much. So the damage kept to a minimum thanks to a terrific defensive play.
Cabrera's at-bats. And he said by watching Cabrera's at-bats kind of got him back on track, and that's how he had that monster second half.
Meanwhile, Casey Fien has back-to-back strikeouts. He chased that time. It'll bring up Cabrera, and it's also time for the Farmers Insurance report card. And for Miggy, 9 consecutive seasons with at least 25 homers, 100 RBIs, and 175 hits. That's the longest active streak in the major leagues. The next closest guy is Ryan Braun. He's done it only 4 times. Wave and a miss, 0-1. Cabrera had an RBI back in the first on a ground ball that drove in a run. Otherwise 0 for 3. In there for a strike. 0-2. Worley started for Minnesota, went 6 innings, allowing 3 early runs, but then nothing after the second inning. Handing it over now to Casey Fien. Outside again. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cabrera right now in the 5th year of his 7-year contract. So including this season, 3 more years left on his deal. And as you look at the window of opportunity for the Tigers, you've got Cabrera for 3 more years. He just signed Verlander through possibly 2020. You got Prince, who signed the 9-year deal.
Anibal Sanchez got 5 more years coming.
The Tigers not only built for this year, but certainly the next several seasons. Low, 2 balls, 2 strikes on Cabrera. You know, there was a time where Cabrera probably felt that he had to carry the entire load offensively for the Tigers, but now he's got so much talent around him, in front of him and behind him as well. The 2-2 fouled off. And it amazed me how he was able, Ron, to continue to hit the way he did the last month of the season, knowing that everybody was watching and that Triple Crown was kind of hanging over his head, but he did not wilt at all.
Not only did he perform at a very high level, but he was performing less than 100% from a health standpoint. Cabrera had a couple of bad ankles down the stretch, and there were times where he could barely walk, but he still went out there and played every day for his team.
Yeah, and the other thing is that he was trying to get him into the playoffs as well. It really was a remarkable year. 2-2. Missed it high. Now all of a sudden it's Cabrera who is ahead in the count, 3-2. And Fielder waiting on deck.
If Fien somehow loses Cabrera, they've got Dunsing warming up in the bullpen, and that Ron Gardenhire, they probably got up for that reason alone to pitch to Prince Fielder.
Swing and a miss. Fien is able to finish the job. How about this? He strikes out the side. He goes right through Jackson, Hunter, and Cabrera. Doug Fister will take the hill on opening day in the Motor City, followed by Mad Max Scherzer.
You know, you and I were talking about that when they were having introductions today about the difference between an opening day here and the opening day at Comerica Park. I mean, this crowd really wasn't into it.
No, it really wasn't. That compared to what you'll see in the Motor City, that's for sure. Here's a bouncer back up the middle. Peralta ranging left. And Hicks is out, 1 gone. So Smiley back out there for another inning of work here in the 7th inning. By the way, do you think Keats had the foresight to pack his long johns today?
Yes, he did.
Did he?
He's a veteran.
He knew that manning the sidelines was going to be a chilly venture today, no doubt. Here is Joe Mauer. Mauer 1 out of 2, had a double, walked his last time. It is a slim lead for the Tigers, 3-1 as we play in the bottom of the 7th. Strike called.
That is something that Joe Mauer will do. About 90% of the time he will take the first pitch. He's one of those guys that is very, very patient and doesn't mind hitting behind in the count.
One ball, one strike. Smiley retired 2 in the 6th and then gave up a run and a wild pitch later in the inning. You're talking about hitting with 2 strikes in the count, Rod. We talked earlier about Victor Martinez, who hits nearly 300 with 2 strikes, or did last year at least. Is that really, in your mind, what separates some of the elite guys from some other players?
Absolutely. They're not afraid to hit behind in the count. They see a lot of pitches, which gives them a better opportunity of knowing exactly what they're going to get.
There's another hit from Mauer
with 2 strikes.
Single to go with his double. On base 4 times today.
It's a cutter at the top of the zone. And Smiley knew it as soon as he threw it that he made a bad pitch. It wasn't located where he wanted it.
So you got to be careful here now. It's a 2-run game. Tying run coming to the plate. That would be Josh Willingham. 35 dingers last year for Willingham. Terry Ryan, their GM, was saying, you know, we've had a lot of guys complain about how difficult it is to hit home runs here. Well, the ballpark seemed awfully small last year for Willingham. 110 RBIs to go with his 35 homers. Strike called in the inside part of the plate, 1-1.
And Jim Leyland down there hoping that Smiley can somehow get Willingham out, which would allow him to face the left-hander Morneau behind him.
He has faced Smiley 3 times, has Willingham, 0 for 3. High and away, 2-1.
Told you earlier, and Willingham is an outstanding fastball hitter. So if you're Smiley and Avila in this situation, if you decide to throw the fastball, you want to make sure you get it in an area where he can't do a lot of damage, which would be at the knees outside. And they tried the backdoor breaking ball there and made a pretty good pitch with it.
Verlander threw 91 pitches in his 5 innings of work. There was some thought that he might come out and throw the 6th inning, but Smiley came out instead, and so that's an extra inning that Jim Leyland will have to navigate through today. Ground ball left side, base hit. Tying runs on now for Minnesota. And that's going to bring up Justin Morneau. It has not been a comfortable afternoon despite 3 early runs for the Tigers. Morneau has a double in 3 at-bats. Ball 1.
Smiley really has just not had very good command today. And we haven't said that very often about Drew.
No, we haven't. The majority of his work last year came in the rotation, but he did pitch well in the postseason out of the bullpen. Swing and a miss.
Got a little help there from Justin Morneau. Fastball's out of the zone.
Left-handers last year against Smiley hit just .224. Avila knocks it down. 2-1.
Avila's been a busy man today. Blocking a lot of balls in the dirt.
40 pitches now for Smiley out of the bullpen. Mauer and Willingham have both singled here. They are the tying runs. The 2-1. 3-1. Ryan Doumit waiting on deck. There's Doumit on deck, and also in the bullpen, Albuquerque's still heating up. They got him up and throwing in the 6th inning. And he lost him. That's going to load the bases.
Smiley just doesn't have it today.
Now they are loaded up with the right-handed hitting Doumit coming up, and here comes Jim Leyland. He's going to want Mr. Albuquerque. So Albuquerque's going to inherit a bases loaded situation. We're in the 7th inning. Tigers holding on to a 3-1 lead.
You're watching April in the D on Fox Sports Detroit.
Tigers had a lot of base runners early in the game and got on the board first here. It was a force play that played in 1 run, and also Prince Fielder drove in a run by queuing a double down the left field corner. Infante came up in the 2nd inning, and he singled and drove in 1 run. Tigers haven't scored since then. The only run the Minnesota Twins have scored today was on a wild pitch by Drew Smiley last half inning.
And here is our Comerica Bank game summary. Tigers right now nursing a 3-1 lead. Verlander went 5 innings through 91 pitches today. Hunter 2 out of 4 with a double. Shani Peralta 2 of 3 stolen base and a run scored. Now the numbers on Al Albuquerque.
Albuquerque had a very good year last year when he did pitch. He only pitched in 8 games because he had an injury for most of the season.
So Doumit, who is a switch hitter, will bat from the left side against Albuquerque. Smiley, as you said, Rod, just was not very sharp today.
No, he was not. Albuquerque needs to make a big pitch here to Doumit.
Line drive to left, the base hit. Mauer scores. Willingham will stop at 3rd, and it's a 3-2 ball game. Doumit gets his first RBI. That run will belong to Smiley. And they are still loaded up.
Looked like a breaking ball that Albuquerque really
didn't get on top
of.
Kind of spun up there.
I mean, that's his signature pitch, that slider.
So now it's 3-2. Bases stay loaded with 1 out for Trevor Plouffe. Ball 1. Plouffe had a double in the 6th, scored a run on the wild pitch. Swing and a miss. Tigers have 8 hits today, 7 now for Minnesota. They've had 3 hits in this inning. Strike called. 1-2.
And Trevor Plouffe looking for that breaking ball. And I don't know why in the world he would look for it, because you can't hit that Albuquerque slider, one of the best sliders in the game of baseball.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
It's a good pitch there. After he took the fastball on the previous pitch, Avila came right back with another good fastball at 94 miles an hour. Let's take a look at how they went after Trevor Plouffe here. First pitch fastball down, then he comes back with a real good slider. Now Plouffe looking for the slider and takes one fastball right down the middle, and then he finishes them off with another good two-seam heater.
Second out of the inning. Going to be up now to Parmalee. Ball one.
Tigers have 3 left-handers in their bullpen, Smiley, Downs, and also Phil Coke. But they also have a couple of right-handers down there in Villarreal and Albuquerque that really had no problem getting left-handed batters out last year. Lefties hit just 136 last year against Albuquerque.
2-0 the count. Well, you mentioned the injury. Albuquerque missed the first 4 months of the season. He had elbow surgery last year, which kept him on the DL. Now the 2-0. 2-1 on Parmalee. Al had the breakout season in 2011 when for a while there he was unhittable. He struck out 67 in 43 innings of work. Trying to keep the bases loaded here. Smiley started the inning.
Smiley needs to put his jacket on.
2-1. In there, 2-2.
That pitch, when he locates it where he located this last one, is unhittable.
Fouled away. Dunsing now has been joined by Burton, the lefty-righty combination. Tigers in the 8th inning will have Fielder, Martinez, and Dirks. Low. 3-2 with the bases loaded.
Would he dare throw his breaking ball here? 3-2.
About to ask you that same question.
I think so. He's got enough confidence in it.
Here comes the crowd. Biggest pitch of the ball game right here. Swing and a miss. He struck him out
on that slide piece.
He had the confidence to throw it, and he strikes out Parmalee. Twins get a run, but they leave him loaded. Back to the seats, out of play. Wasn't that long ago that Dunsing had himself a really good year. That was back in 2010. He was 10-3 with an ERA of about 2.5. Pitching out of the bullpen and in the rotation. Last year's numbers elevated, though. Just off the plate. Fielder watched it in the glove, but fortunately it missed. Prince had a double back in the first to knock in a run. Victor Martinez will be next. Here's the 2-2. Bouncer right back up the middle and into center field. They'll get it started for the Tigers as Fielder gets his second hit of the day.
Really patient at bat here by Prince Fielder. Breaking ball, top of the zone, gets on top of it and drills it right back up the middle. How about last September here at this ballpark? Remember how fired up he was?
Wait till he gets back to the bench. Look out! Oh my goodness, get out of the way. That was a huge home run. In fact, that was his 30th of the year.
That was a big home run, though. I mean, that was a huge home run. Tigers are fighting, trying to take over the division.
Well, let's see if they can get him in here in the 8th inning. Here is Victor Martinez batting from the right side. Ball one. Victor in search of his first hit. Couple of ground balls to first, and both of those came against the starter Worley, who went 6 innings. Casey Fiend struck out the side in the 7th, and now Dunsing here in the 8th. 2-0. Now the 2-0. Outside, 3 balls and no strikes.
Tigers have several guys on their team that have the green light to swing if they care to do so when the count is 3 balls and no strikes, but very few like to do so. I know Prince doesn't like to do so. Miguel Cabrera doesn't like to do it as well. And Victor in 2011 didn't swing in this situation very often either.
He'll take ball 4, and now the Tigers indeed have something brewing. 2 on, nobody out. I still don't understand why so many guys are uncomfortable swinging 3-0.
Well, a lot of guys that hit 300, and that would be Miguel, and that would also be Victor. They just feel like once they've gotten themselves in that count of 3 balls and no strikes, they're not going to do that pitcher a favor by swinging at something out of the strike zone. Even if they do get the 1 strike, it's now 3-1. They've seen 4 pitches. They feel better in that situation.
Rick Anderson out there to talk about it. Here is our Tigers Subway in-game box score. And a lot of that production came from Jackson and Hunter early. Infante's had a nice day as well. These numbers are all updated. But again, the Tigers have not been able to score since getting a run in the 2nd.
Well, which is the reason why Tommy Brookins is going to put on the bunt sign here. He had 3 sack bunts last year, did Andy Dirks. He'll need to bunt this one down toward third base. He wants that third baseman to come and get the baseball.
That would be Trevor Plouffe down at 30s on the grass. And he drops down a bunt. Fielded by the pitcher Dunson. Sacrifice moves the runners up.
And Ron Gardenhire is going to be forced into playing his infield in here with runners on 2nd and 3rd, and just 1 out. Nice job by Dirks. He'll get a lot of high fives when he gets back to that dugout.
So the infield does indeed come in now, and here is Johnny Peralta. Good day for Johnny. 2 hits, a steal, and a run scored. And
Johnny's numbers are so good here at Target Field that Ron Gardenhire is not going to mess with him. That and the fact that you have Avila, the left-handed swinging Avila, in the on-deck circle. And it's one of those situations where Gardenhire does not feel like Jim would pinch hit for Avila.
And there is ball 4 missing outside. Intentional walk to Johnny Peralta. Ron Gardenhire in his 12th season now as the skipper here in Minnesota. Well, we'll see what Avila can do here with the bases full. And Avila in this game has been on base twice, couple of fielder's choice ground balls. He is also fanned. Strike called on Avila. Alex had 15 RBIs this spring. Very productive spring. Hit .309. Look out, almost hit him. One ball, 1 strike.
If you're Johnny Peralta at first base, you have to get a little bit bigger lead over there. You have to get as much as you can, as much as they'll give you, just in case there's a ground ball. You might have a chance to break up the potential double play.
Broken bat, foul, back out of play. 1-2, and that's something right now Ron Gardenhire would love to have. His middle infielders playing a double play depth. New bat for Avila. Down to the count, 1-2. Dunsing took over here in the 8th, gave up a single to fielder. Walked Martinez after a sacrifice, an intentional walk, loading the bases. And the 1-2. Got him. Strike 3. Avila caught looking. That is a gargantuan strikeout for Dunsing. And they're going to take him out of the ball game now.
It's a fastball that Joe Mauer wanted inside, but the ball ended up outside on the corner, and he got the strike call from Jim Joyce.
So Dunsing is out. Back to the bullpen they go, and we'll be back. Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is brought to you by Comerica Bank, a part of Detroit and the community since 1849. Your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. Visit ChevyDetroit.com. See why Chevy drives the Motor City. And by Wallside Windows. For a free at-home estimate, call 1-800-521-7800. Back here at Target Field, opening day has the Tigers on top right now, 3-2. They are trying to add to that lead. They've got the bases loaded here with 2 outs.
Last couple of half innings for the Minnesota Twins, they've had the bases loaded. Now the Tigers have the bases loaded, and Josh Renicky, who pitched in Colorado last year, is on to try to get Infante out.
And Infante's had a pretty good day, a couple of hits and an RBI.
He walked 43 batters last year. Pitched okay in Colorado, but the strikeouts to walks ratio was not good for Renicky.
And it gets through Mauer. Here comes Fielder trying to score, and he does. Prince rumbles home with the Tigers' 4th run of the game.
Real good read there by Prince Fielder.
Well, you're not kidding. He came immediately.
The ball got right through the legs of Joe Mauer, and Prince Fielder with a real nice break from third base. Nice walking lead. Able to score with a slide. Good heads-up play by the Prince. And boy, did they need that.
Ball low.
And one more look here at Prince. Takes a couple of steps, and he's off. As soon as that ball hits the dirt and gets through the legs of Mauer.
How'd you like that slide?
Loved it. It's cold down there, man.
Yes, it is.
Hey, dude, it is so cold down there right now.
Popped him up.
A lot of respect for these boys out there today.
Dozier will haul it in. So the Tigers get the run. Prince Fielder, he had a big old smile on his face. Kelly. And he missed it high. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Do you think most managers feel the same way, that 6th inning is kind of a swing inning in terms of lining up your bullpen?
Yes, because it keeps you away from your long guy. Because no disrespect to Drew Smyly, he's a very good pitcher, but he really hasn't pitched in the bullpen all that much.
Bouncing ball right side. Fielder on the backhand. Benoit gets over there, and they just got him by a step.
So if Verlander gets through 6 innings, and then you can go Dotel, you can go Benoit, you can go Albuquerque, Villarreal. You can turn it over to the guys that are more accustomed to pitching out of the bullpen, and you stay away from Drew Smyly the entire day. It's a nice job here by Prince, smothering that baseball, getting down with that new big glove that he has, and shuffling it to Benoit to beat Escobar to the bag.
So with 2 outs,
Prince has a new glove this year. He said he noticed last year how Mark Teixeira's glove looked so much bigger than his. Of course, Mark Teixeira wins Gold Gloves over at first base. Prince inquired about how big that glove was, talked to Rawlings about it, and now he has a glove that is as big as the glove that Teixeira uses. Look how big that thing is.
It's like a pillow. That is gargantuan.
It doesn't get any bigger than that.
Is that even legal?
Yes, it's legal. Shh, don't say it too loud.
Here is Hicks with 2 outs. Ball high from Benoit. 2-0. Hicks 0 for 4. Verlander struck him out 3 times, and then Hicks bounced out in the 7th inning. And the 2-0 pitch. Lifted back out of play. 2-1. Well, they want to see how Hicks is going to do this year. Getting a chance to play the outfield after they traded away Span and Revere. Hicks had a marvelous season last year, Double-A. Former first-round pick.
Hicks in the offseason hired himself a personal trainer as do a lot of these big leaguers to help him get a lot stronger. He also got some batting tips from Rod Carew, who lives in the Los Angeles area as well. You talked earlier about the fact that he had to get better hitting from the left side. Rod Carew was outstanding hitter from the left side.
Yeah, he has a statue here. Checked it, and he walked it. 2 out base on balls. So it's going to bring up Mauer as the tying run. Well, we talked about all the strikeouts Tigers pitching has put together today. They've also walked 6. And Mauer has not had a whole lot of success against Benoit. One of his 2 hits, though, is a home run. Ball 1. Coming up after our telecast here from Minneapolis, Red Wings hockey is on the way against the Avalanche from the Joe Louis Arena, so stay tuned. Tigers, meanwhile, trying to take care of business here on opening day. Now the 1-0. High, ball 2. Benoit struck out Dozier, got Escobar to ground out, but trying desperately to keep that pitching hand warm here this afternoon. Mauer a double, a single, and a walk. And he hammers this one to left field. Dirks on the run. He'll track it down. So again, Mauer goes the other way. This time he's retired. Benoit gets the job done. We go to the 9th. You were mentioning he was pitching with the Rockies last year. And I know that Coors Field is not what it used to be in terms of the ball flying out of there, but a 3.25 ERA out of the bullpen is pretty good there.
Not bad at all. Numbers probably would have been better than that had his strikeouts to walks ratio been so poor. He walked quite a few last year. He's got some deception in his delivery. A little herky-jerky delivery, like he hesitates. And right before he lets the ball go.
3-1 is the count on the leadoff man, Austin Jackson. Hammered on a line to left, but right into the glove of Willingham. 1 out. Here is Torii Hunter, who is 2 for 4 in his Tigers debut. Hunter singled in the first, doubled in the third. And he takes ball 1. Well, there is Phil Cohn. Lined up to get a save opportunity here.
Boy, was he something else in the playoffs last year in that spot.
96, 97 with his fastball. He had a nice breaking ball. He threw more changeups. And he seemed to adapt to that closer's role very nicely. And down the stretch when Valverde just couldn't get it done.
Swing and a miss. Well, it makes you wonder as the season goes on how the Tigers will work with that closer's position, if it will indeed be a closer by committee, or if they settle on one or two guys.
I think eventually once Rondon goes down to the minor leagues and gets his confidence back, I think eventually he's going to be the closer, and it's going to happen this year. I think if the Tigers could do it all over again, and I haven't talked to anybody about this at all, they probably would have not anointed him the closer before spring training. They probably would have just let him go into spring training and try to win a job like anybody else without telling him he's going to be the closer.
Soft roller to first base. Morneau makes the play, 2 gone.
Because the kid just seemed to pitch so tight down in Florida.
Well, but did you see how Jim Leyland was handling that after his first couple of outings as well? He said, look, you know, we're not saying right now he's going to be the closer. He tried to take some of that pressure off of him. But ultimately, he just, after a pretty good stretch in the middle of spring, kind of faltered a bit down the stretch, and down to the minors he went.
He had those final 2 outings in Major League camp where he pitched one day where he's very good, the best I'd seen him, against the Atlanta Braves, and he went right through the middle of that Atlanta Braves lineup. And the following day he struggled, and that was when they decided to send him back down to the minors.
Cabrera batting with 2 outs. Mickey struck out back in the 7th, has an RBI today.
It's fascinating that a man that stands 6 feet 5 inches, weighs about 250 pounds, could win back-to-back batting titles and hit for the kind of power that he hits for.
It's been remarkable. Last year, 330. Swing and a miss. 1, 2, 3 inning for Renicky. Let's go to the bottom of the 9th. 3 more outs to get for Detroit.
I'm at my local Ace Hardware because they have the knowledge. You need to sprint today to try to stay warm.
Phil Koch will try and get the final 2 outs of this game. Koch not running as fast as he normally is. I think it's the cold weather.
Get that right, partner.
The joints aren't loosening up as quickly. And so Koch comes on to face Morneau, and here are his numbers from last year.
He had a 4 ERA last year, pitched in 66 games. That's one of the things that Phil Koch has done since he has been with the Tigers. He takes that ball whenever Jim Leyland calls upon him. His numbers weren't all that great during the regular season, but boy, did he step up in the postseason. 10 games. An ERA that was under 113 strikeouts and 2 walks, and he had a couple of saves as well in the postseason.
10 2/3 innings. Don't forget Red Wings hockey coming up.
Nice work by Benoit.
Benoit got 4 outs in this game. Now he'll hand things over to the lefty Phil Koch.
And Phil Koch's fastball did not get up to 95, 96 in spring training this year. And it was a little bit of a concern with the Tigers. That first one at 91.
Morneau is 1 for 3, has a 2-base hit in this game plus a walk. Swing and a miss.
Nice breaking ball.
What do we got here on the career numbers? 4 for 17 against Phil Koch.
A 91-mile-per-hour fastball, the first pitch, and he backs it off to 76 with an outstanding breaking ball.
Did he go? Sure did. And Hickox down at 3rd, punched him out.
You can't locate the breaking balls any better than the last 2 that he threw to Morneau. He throws off the first base side of the pitching rubber and kind of throws across his body, and you can see the right hip of Morneau just kind of flying out there, and he went too far on that one.
1 more out to get. Here's Ryan Doumit.
Wave and a miss. Here's the 0-1 pitch. That's in for a strike, and now it's 0-2 on Ryan Doumit.
5 pitches. And by Phil Koch, all strikes.
That's good.
Might as well make it 6.
Get everybody back in that warm clubhouse. And he missed with it. 1-2.
There's my first jinx of the year.
Twitter's lighting up.